Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Wednesdays. Wednesdays study the Srimad Bhagavatam. We call it Walk on Wednesday. Walk on Wednesdays, we bring us a member of our community on publicly, and we talk to them, pick their brain a little, hear their story, just get to know each other. That's how we build community. But before we do that, we want to welcome everybody. And we turn towards Miss Mara, who's spinning the dials back here, and say if there is any announcements, Miss Mara.
Yeah, we have Bhakti recovery group meetings today at 1 and 9:30 p.m. Eastern time.
We need more announcements. You know, it's like that's all the announcements you got every day. Bhakti recovery group. We need more other announcements that are happening.
It's not her fault.
You have any pilgrimage? My pilgrimage is happening. Yeah, go to my website. We're going to India. That's my favorite thing I do all year, pretty much. Traveling around India. Favorite thing. Look forward to it every year. Go to my website, raghunath.yoga. Kastuba, do you have an announcement?
No.
Oh. Boring. All righty. Well, you want to ready for bring on our Walk on Wednesday? Our Walk on Wednesdays, your favorite yogini and ours, Lori Pag. You unmuted there, Lori Pag. Welcome to the show.
Haribol, everyone.
My introduction to Lori Pag is that I think she may have never missed an episode. I think that you may have never missed an episode. And not only that, and I don't know if this is, you get the credit for this or not, but out of all the people that join up on Zoom, you're always the first one. Like that is, I don't know how you become number one at Zoom. I don't know if you pay for it. It's like getting box seats at a Mets game. I don't know if it's just an algorithm because you've logged on so many times, but whatever it is, you, my friend, are number one. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Great. And we just had a great time together in Italy. Another thing on Lori Pag's bio is I think I've been to India with you more than I've been there with my family members. How many times did we go to India together?
6 times since 2016. And one of those was at the Eco Village.
Wow.
Little addiction.
Lori, what's your story? How did you get into yoga, and how did we meet, and how did you get in the podcast? Just give us a little background just to get to know you. You're from Newport, Rhode Island, and you live there with your husband and your son.
Yes, my son will be 20 next week. We have one child together. My husband's stepdaughter moved in with us. We had never lived with her. My son was about 15 months old, and I said, I think I need to go to some yoga. So I started to take a yoga practice on.
When was that? Because people know you as a pretty advanced yoga teacher. Your classes are very packed in Rhode Island all the time. I used to come to Rhode Island. That's where I first know you.
15 months.
What's that?
20 minus 15 months.
You're making me do some math at 6:10 a.m. today, Kastuba?
I started about 2006. I studied a lot with Dharma Mitra, who's really the king of asana,
Yeah,
but
he
his
is.
higher level teacher trainings were really exclusive. But it brought me into philosophy from an impersonalistic avenue or non-dualism. So it was interesting to come into bhakti. But I just want to let everyone know that the chief, my husband, is really a chief because he's in the Navy. He's a retired chief. And
Oh, that's where we get the name the Chief from. I thought
That's
it was
why
your
he-
like lover's nickname.
right.
Oh,
So he earned the name because he became a chief. He was not enlisted when we met. And then after we got married, he re-enlisted as a reservist, considered more or less a weekend warrior. After 9/11 happened, they re-enlisted him and sent him to Afghanistan. And this was leaving my son and I at home during war. It was really hard. I didn't have yoga. I became a single mom. I became, working for myself. My parents were alive then, so they were able to help me, but it was really scary because I could not talk to him. And when he did return, after Afghanistan, he was very angry because he was helping a country that didn't want them there. So it was a little bit of a transition. I couldn't really speak to him, but he said he would call me when he knew were going to be attacked. So
Wow.
it was hard.
I can't imagine that.
Yeah, a few years went by and then they deployed him again to Iraq. So this was now around 2005. My son's about 5 years old, or 2008. So I'm again taking on the role of the single mom. But I had yoga then, so I could really just surrender to, like, if they're going to come knock on my door, something happened, I'm ready for that.
Wow.
Right before his deployments, which lasted about 10 months, I got a phone call from him that he was in an explosion. So his convoy ran over an intensified explosive device that blew the convoy to its side and back. And he was calling me from a hospital in Iraq. And it was really hard to get that phone call and, like, are you okay? Do you have your arms? Do you have your legs? Like, I was really speechless. So when he came home, thank God he came home, there was a lot of medication that they had prescribed him, a lot of antidepressants, gabapentin for nerve damage. He had traumatic brain injury, he had post-traumatic stress. So basically, the traumatic brain injury rewired his brain so he did not think the way that he used to think. He used to be like, well, I used to do things this way. Now I'm doing things this way. And it allowed him to kind of just shut down.
Wait, what? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Because the brain, when he got in the explosion, it got rattled. So the synapse.
Like, what was an example of something he does a different way? Like tie his shoe a different way, or?
No. So I used to be a voracious reader, reading books.
Okay.
Right? I can't concentrate on a single book. I have a book about this big, and it takes me a year to read it.
Welcome to my world. Welcome to my.
You didn't need an explosion for that.
I didn't need an explosion.
But letters and spelling was always my thing, and numbers.
Welcome to my club. I'm the president.
Now it's just the opposite. Numbers are great for me. I remember numbers in this, and so everything changed.
Okay, so it didn't all go south. Some stuff strangely went north.
Right.
Interesting.
Polar opposite.
Okay, we gotta walk on Wednesday. You too, Mr. Chief. Lori, continue. This is good stuff. I'm glad we have this conversation.
So that's when now I said, I'm going to go do a yoga teacher training. I decided to do some work on myself. He sat on the couch. My son's 5 years old. He was playing video games. I'm like, I have 2 children. He's not working. I could really be like a crazy nagging wife, but I said, I'm zipping it up. I'm going to go take care of me and let him figure it out. And he figured it out. So the yoga teacher training, doing yoga, it saved our marriage because I left him alone. I let him figure out what he needed to do. He got into master gardening, which I think hands in the earth had a lot to do with it. So that
Wow.
was around 2009. I met you in 2014. So 5 years after becoming a 200-hour yoga teacher, I started to amp up my practice to the next level. I started studying with some other big teachers, and I was like, I'm going to check out this Raghunath. He does these handstands. I want to do some handstands. So as you say, it became the condiment that pulled me in. I learned a lot about Bhakti. You talked about India. I said, all right, I'll go to India, one and done, check it out. And then my heart was just so pulled by it that once I left it, I'm like, when am I going back?
That's all people say. When am I going back? What was that first trip? Where did we go?
It was the first trip you took with Rocco. And
Oh, wow.
did Haridwar, where you met the psychic, the mystic.
Oh, yes, the
So we
Haridwar
had that
mystic.
experience. I think we did Haridwar before we did Rishikesh. We did Vrindavan. So the usual jaunts.
The classics. Wow. Seems like
And
yesterday.
it's, since then I've really been drawn to the Bhakti philosophy. I run my own yoga teacher training. So I fully bring kirtan. I bring Bhagavad Gita from that Bhakti aspect to my students. I teach 8 classes a week here in Newport, Rhode Island. And yes, I can teach them the exercises all day, but I really do try to bring them some philosophy to come away from the suffering mind that we all go through, the monkey mind.
And you do that. People, your students love you for it. Can I ask you a question though? I was just trying to imagine, Mara, can you imagine this? It's like every day at home alone with a kid waiting for a phone call. Like if that doesn't keep you totally God conscious or completely depressed, I don't know what would. Like living on edge constantly. I wish you were a devotee back then, because that could have been like, you could have directed, oh Krishna, you're on the edge. You're like Draupadi calling out for Krishna.
There was a lot of surrender. And when he would call me, I would not be able to really ask any questions. Couldn't ask about the weather. I had to keep the conversations very dialed down just in case there was anybody that was listening to any of the lines. It was when Facebook first came out. So we kind of like get to talk through that. But it was just talk about living in the present and just having to deal with what I had to deal with, juggling the young child. I was running my nail business at the time. I was a manicurist. So I did that before I became a yoga teacher. And then now everything I do is yoga. So, and the great thing is that, Brian used to say, go to India, do what you need to do. I'm all set with third world countries. And then when the second year I went to the Italy Wisdom of the Sages, he said, I think I want to come. I said, okay.
So if people don't know, Brian had a
trick him.
Go on.
But he wanted to come to Italy, and we had 80 people on that second retreat, and there was just something there that started to scrub his little heart.
We just want to share that Brian went there just to support you. Okay, we're going to go to Italian with her podcast people, but he came sort of as an observer. He came in as an observer, and something happened. He had an awakening, or something happened. Chief, you want to share about your awakening or a little bit there in India, or did it happen in India or
Italy?
No,
Italy? I'm sorry, Italy.
No, I think it was just, well, first of all, when I found out that I was with a bunch of Hare Krishnas, holy crap.
You didn't know that going in?
Wait a second.
I had no idea. Right. And I mean, the only contact I had was in the airport back in the 80s,
That was Kastuba.
But you get to talk to people, and everybody is just normal. It's a normal person. Everybody has their problems. Everybody's got things. But everybody was normal. And then it was just like, I just say, hey, listen, for me, I just want to be a good person. I want to do the right thing. I believe in reincarnation, and I just want to help people. And then you, Raghunath, were just like, that's us. That's who we are. You're one of us. And I'm like, no. That can't be. And then I got home and I just started thinking about it. And I was like,
Maybe I am one of them.
I am. And then yeah, I started listening to kirtan all the time, and I started getting emotional, and I come home and I'm like, Lori, what is going on? I'm listening to this song, and I'm starting to cry. And she goes, oh, you're in.
Oh,
And
yes.
it just kind of went from there. So
Well, I can't remember now, just because Lori's been around so long. Were you listening to the podcast when she used to listen to the podcast, or
No,
you never heard?
I'm like, you getting up at 5 a.m. Well, you're crazy. I'm sleeping till 9,
Right. Interesting.
but after coming back from Italy, you were tuning in.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's the thing, is like everybody I met in Italy, they were on this podcast. They said, well, I want to see the people that I was with. So I jumped on just to see and say hi to the people I was with. And then I was listening to what you guys are dishing out, and I was like, huh, interesting. And I read the Bhagavad Gita twice
Oh,
last November. So that was good. I'll read it again.
nice.
When he came home, he was like, what are these beads? And I was like, this. What is this Krishna book?
There you go.
What is this Bhagavad Gita? So I never, for people that always say, how do you make your spouse or somebody in your life become spiritual? You can't make anybody spiritual. This was all free will. This was me keeping my vibration high, doing what I needed to do to keep my path. And for some reason, he kind of got swept in. And then when he started to hang around devotees, I think a lot of the male devotees in Italy, that like Vayu and the Croatia boys and Bhavananda and like Harshal Gore, they really, McKelly was like, whoa, wait a minute. Just because I'm chief guy and I hang out with chief guys, I can also have relationships like this as well. So and we sat with Satyanandana this year, and he's like, Maharaj, this has been the year of the butterfly for me. I've just had transformation. Being vegetarian now, which has been a dream for me. Wanting to now come to India with you. He's coming this fall. So to have him beside me, and we've been together 27 years, is just
amazing.
A Krishna miracle.
It's a Krishna miracle. You are a Krishna miracle, Chief. So are you, Lori. You're a Krishna miracle too.
Last year, Vayu, he was like, I want to see you here next year with beads and less attitude.
Vayu is a jewel of down under. Okay, well, we have me and Lori have a retreat at the farm going on, and it's on my website, www.raghunath.yoga. What are the dates of that, Lori?
The 8th, 9th, and 10th. So Friday afternoon, all day Saturday, and Sunday afternoon.
That's awesome. 8th, 9th, and 10th. No, not of August, of September.
Okay.
I'm really looking forward to that. You're actually going to come up this week too and maybe do some guest teaching at our yoga farm stay / 200-hour training. Looking forward to seeing you. Maybe we get the chief to come in September. But if you're interested in that, you can go to my website and sign up, or her email address is LA. Let you say it, Lori.
LAPAG16@gmail.com. LAPAG16, or Lori Pagliaroni, PAGLIARONI @gmail.com. I have a flyer on Instagram. So if you follow me there, Yogini Lori, you can see the information there, direct message me through that. But it is filling up, and I'm really excited to be there and share. I studied after I had originally met Raghunath for handstands intensively with Sri Dharma Mitra. So, he's taught me how to have fun in asana.
Nice. Well, Lori, it's a pleasure having you in our life and seeing you on the podcast every day. You're a big, strong pillar in this community. And Chief, we love you. We love you, man. Gotta pick your brain one of these days too. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Great couple.
Haribo. Kastuba.
Yeah.
That was nice. That was nice.
Yeah.
I love that. Just getting to know people. And like Lori was saying, it's like, the chief just sort of got swept up in the current. I noticed that if you have a very strong bhakti community, people are just not even looking for bhakti. They're just, they get swept away in it. Just like, who's like that, like Youngblood, like our Ian, our local guy. He just comes over here, is like, I know he's looking for something to eat. He's coming over, he's like, what's up? And I was like, you want something to eat? And he's like, yeah, all right. And just but you get caught up in the association, and people really, they want friends. People want friends. They want to eat. They want to sing. They want a good time.
They want to eat.
They want to eat. They want to sing. We got that. We got you covered. But it's just such an upgraded version. You're not feeling like people are sizing you up and down. When you have a nice, simple bhakti community, it is all attractive.
Yeah, I think in what Chief said was it was normal. It just needed to be that, I think, and if we can present the spiritual knowledge, although if you approach it a certain way, it can sound crazy or wacky or anything when you start hearing certain details, but just the fundamental teachings, they just make so much sense.
They make too much sense.
Make sense of life, but they just need to be presented in a normalized setting somewhat, right? You just got to hear it like from people that you can relate to, and then I think people open up to it,
Yeah, it can be too much. It's a very organic way of spreading the holy name and spreading bhakti philosophy through the podcast, which I really like, because otherwise it can be almost like a big pill to swallow. Unless you're really looking for it. I'm looking for a monk, or I'm looking for a person with a shaved head and a ponytail.
People like that too.
Yeah, people like it too. They're looking for it and you're attracted to it, but sometimes this is sort of a very organic way to people are looking for some philosophy. You don't have to go you know how long it took me to go into a temple? I knew there was a temple there, but for me to get up the guts to go to a temple and you never go to any new place for a first time. It's a little intimidating, but you can just like listen to a podcast and be like, okay, no one knows I'm here. Now I'm going to disappear. I'm going to listen again. And it's a great way to sort of like get a slow drip method of hearing bhakti and hearing the philosophy.
Okay.
That's what I think. All right. You ready to dive into the sweet Srimad Bhagavatam, sir?
Ready.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloki bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Midatam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 19, Text 22.
I thought we moved on from.
Unless I already read 22, then 23.
Are we up to 24?
Okay, we're going to wrestle this one out. 24, text 24.
23 again if you want, but I think we did. You read 23.
I read 23.
So
a short life.
Whoa.
No, you whoa.
I am whoa, and that's what I'm doing.
Whoa, with me? What am I, a horse?
You're running off like one. So some interesting thing happens here. We've been for chapters now. Srimad Bhagavatam has been taking us to different places in the universe.
Touring the universe.
It's been a tour. But now we're hearing from the devas, from these different, what are the devas? These, when people say, oh, in Hinduism, they have like 33 million gods or something like that. It's like there's different schools of thought about who these figures are and what they represent and so on. But like
I
in
think
our
the easiest
bhakti
way to
tradition,
explain them is, aliens.
you
They're
know,
not
that's
from
the
this
way you like
planet.
to explain it because that's your fascination. But
Well, no, that's what they are. They're aliens. They're not from this planet. They're beings not from this planet, i.e.,
that doesn't
aliens.
explain so much. That explains that they're not from this planet. Okay,
Okay, so
but the way that Bhagavatam presents them is that they're that within this universe, just like everything has a department and a department head. So within this universe, there are higher planets where these devas reside, and they have different universal responsibilities to take care of things. But they've gotten those positions that they live in on other planets where like life is just so much more pleasant. There's so much more pleasure. But so now, although we've traveled throughout the universe in these past couple chapters and heard from the leaders in those communities, and we've heard about their devotion and their insights about Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna. Now we're hearing from the Devas, and as we've been winding through the universe, they're looking down at us now. They're looking down at the earthly residents, and they're sharing something. You know what? They're not looking down their nose, right?
No.
Even though they've got much better karma than we do, they're actually saying, I wish I was in their position.
Yeah.
They're in this place. I'm up here enjoying like crazy, and it makes it hard for me to be deeply spiritual. It makes it hard for me to really understand my existential position here is kind of like, yeah, I'm up now, but you know what? I could be down tomorrow. And with all the pleasure I get in life, I know that it's going to be followed by pain. But when you're there on the earth, you have the opportunity to get that like every day. And by the arrangement of Lord Vishnu, by the arrangement of Lord Krishna, if you seek it out, you can find the right information in these sacred texts. You can find good sangha, good people that are on that path as well, and you can break free. And when you break free, this higher level planetary system thing, it seems insignificant, And so now that's where they're coming from here. They're sharing their insights about just how rare, just how valuable, just how special life in the earthly realm is, and what a great opportunity it is.
I would explain, to keep it really simple, there's other beings, otherworldly beings. There's aliens, and there's both good aliens and bad aliens. Good aliens and evil aliens. And some of these,
you say that, then people, I get it. It's fun to say that, but if that's all you say, then they got these pictures of like these gray guys with the big eyes and all that.
I know they're not those guys, although they could be.
We
don't know. They could be, but I will say this: those are probably the bad guys. By the way, the big-eyed light bulb head.
They haven't wiped this out yet, so
that's what they must look like, because everybody describes them the same, right? Right?
There may be some creatures like that right now. It's definitely possible.
Okay, but I was, and then there's like, how we have elite level athletes. Then there's like demigods that are just like elite level athletes of demigods. They're just like higher level next round. The ones we know about, Brahma,
the big names,
Brahma, Ganapati. They're huge. They're powerful. Yeah. Oh, Shiva's in a whole nother category.
Well, still, but he's
next level.
Mahadeva.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, and then of course there's next level demons, and there's like puny little demons, not so powerful, but they're still causing trouble. Okay, so now we are the good guys, the good aliens. They're giving us a little tour. Give us a little tour of the heavens. So this is text 23, and they're talking about life on this planet.
Oh yeah, when they
called Bharat Varsh.
That's what they call it, Bharata Varsha.
A short life in the land of Bharat Varsha is preferable to a life achieved in Brahmaloka. Yeah, I think we did read this yesterday.
Yeah, we did, right? Brahmaloka is like the highest, a super high planet.
Super high planet in this universe for millions and billions of years.
Oh, even if you start over.
A short life in the land of Bharat Varsha is preferable to a life achieved in Brahmaloka for millions and billions of years. Because even if one is elevated to Brahmaloka, they must return to repeated birth and death. Although life in Bharat Varsh in a lower planetary system
is very short,
one who lives there can elevate himself to full Krishna consciousness and achieve the highest perfection, even in this short life, by fully surrendering unto the lotus feet of the Lord. Thus one attains Vaikuntha Loka, where there is neither anxiety nor repeated birth and death in the material world.
Okay.
You know, this brings up to, and I think a lot of us perhaps listening to the podcast, you know, if you're living in America or Europe, it's like we've done a lot of things. We come from these affluent nations. Even if you're not the most affluent, we come from affluent countries. We do affluent things. We put things on credit cards. We go to exotic places. We go to beautiful beaches. We have a lot of travel going on in our life. And we get to this mantra. You know what mantra I'm about to say, Mara?
So what?
So what? Big deal. Those two mantras come up a lot. Okay, I'm here. Big deal. And I've been getting that a lot. You know, I still get that mantra because sometimes I'll go to a beautiful place and I'll be like, this is beautiful. Big deal. Like, big deal. It's great. It's like really beautiful. It's really natural. It's crystal clear water. It's temporary. It's going to be gone in a week. Even my 9-year-old said that to me. He's like, this is really great, but it's temporary. I don't know where he got that from, but he said, this is really good, but it's temporary. That's how we look at things. We're looking for something more with more depth. And so they say that those who are like these transcendentalists or transcendentally focused or have a spiritual calling, even things of this world that are very high, even though it's wonderful and even though it's sattvic, big deal. It's going to shift. And then you're going to go low again because then there's tragedy. And tragedy happens to everybody also. Loss, heartbreak, loss of limbs, loss of chronic disease. Those things all happen to us as well. And so the yoga is trying to find what can be solid in this temporary world. What can I hold on to in this temporary fleeting existence? And that's where we find in Bhakti Yoga, the subtle. The subtle is the solid. The subtle is the solid. And the things that appear so real, they're temporary. The whole material world, as wonderful as some places are, it's okay. Now what? Been there, done that. Now what? What else is on my bucket list? And some people, that's their whole life, just making long bucket lists.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they've kind of reached, the pinnacle of the material bucket list. And they're looking down and saying, you know what? Even though now I'm here, I wish actually I was there.
Right? They're experiencing.
Yeah. And now this next verse, Raghunath, it's interesting because a few verses back, I don't know if it was yesterday we read, about maybe the day before, about the holy rivers. They're naming all the different holy rivers that flow through Bharatavarsha, that flow on the earth, and how people can take shelter of those rivers, how they can be purified by those rivers. But now they're going to mention a different type of river. And this is the type of river that's beyond. This isn't just for this is getting to the deeper message of Bhagavatam in this verse. So and again, this is kind of Vyasadeva, the author of the Bhagavatam and of all the Vedic literature, who's given all the teachings on yoga and on moksha and on karma and all of that. Now he keeps trying to take us to this deeper place in Bhagavatam. And so in this verse, we hear about what is it that actually is truly significant? What is it that's higher than the higher planets? What is it that's even more valuable than becoming free of material suffering and finding moksha? We hear that in this verse. Different kind of river now.
Okay, ready? An intelligent person does not take interest in a place, even in the topmost planetary system, if the pure Ganges of topics concerning the Supreme Lord's activities does not flow there. If there are not devotees engaged in service on the banks of such a river of piety, or if there is no festivals of Sankirtan Yajna, that's the sacrifice of coming together and chanting to satisfy the Lord, especially since Sankirtan Yajna is recommended in this age. An intelligent person did not take interest in a place. So here it is comparing even a topmost wonderful, we've experienced this. It's safe to say you can go to a beautiful, beautiful place. Even if you say, like, you know what, I'm going to just move to the best beach. I found this place. Matter of fact, I was just with you know, all these kids from Alachua are here visiting and we're having these really nice kirtans. I was just with Mukunda and Madhurika, who are from South Africa, and South Africa's got some breathtaking beaches. And they said, you know, we were raising our kids when they were little in this pristine beach town. You couldn't like design it any more beautiful than it was. And we realized like there's no devotees around here. We want to raise our kids as devotees. We want spiritual life in their life. And when you get that taste for bhakti, you'll go from moving from a pristine place to going to Central Florida in Alachua. You know, why? Because there's a big community of devotees and it's in the community that we find our joy and that we find our upliftment. So here is this verse saying the same thing from the topmost planet. If there's no Hari Kata there's a little lack in the heart. You can have everything fulfilled materially, but still feel an emptiness in the heart. For a lot of you who've been halves in this world, you know what we're talking about, that it really comes to this, okay, now what? Kostub?
Okay. Now what?
Now what? Now what? Text 25. That's what.
Yeah.
Bart Varsh.
I'll just say, you know, this is from the beginning of Bhagavatam. We heard this is such an important verse, and it's a verse that later got highlighted in several places in this important book, Chaitanya Charitamrita, which so like what's coming from Sri Chaitanya, who's, you know, that in our lineage accepted as that's Krishna coming and showing us how to practice bhakti, particularly in this day and age. He's called Yuga Avatar, right? The avatar that comes and teaches you, hey, this is in this day and age, this practice will be the most effective for you. So here it's saying, hold on, why am I getting totally lost this morning? I'm sorry. What was
I think because Lord Chaitanya was also saying something like
I'm
this.
sorry. Yeah, Bhagavatam. Earlier on in Bhagavatam, this verse is spoken. It's a question. We're hearing about Sukadeva Goswami, who's the speaker of the Bhagavatam, who is unquestionably, right, like everybody got it. He's the son of Srila Vyasadeva, who wrote all the Vedic literature, but he's even deeper. He's like even more otherworldly. He's like entirely untouched by the modes of this world, and he's just wandering around naked, like totally otherworldly. Everybody, whatever school of Vedanta you're coming from, they're looking at him and saying he's there. He's beyond.
The higher beings are coming down to hear from him.
Aliens are appreciating.
Aliens are landing their ships, hovering about,
just like in the Jetsons, and so they ask, well, why is he interested in hearing Bhagavatam? Why is he interested in speaking it and hearing it? Why did he take interest? Because Bhagavatam, it gets into all these stories about, well, there's Krishna and he's running around playing with the cows, and he's got these friends and he's got these girlfriends. They're coming out in the middle of the night. They're doing this dance together. From my Vedantic perspective, isn't that worldly stuff? This worldly romance, this boys and girls dancing. That doesn't sound like the Upanishads and these higher teachings to me. That sounds like some kind of sensual, materialistic kind of topic. Right? And then the verse comes, this Atmarama verse, right? Which again becomes highlighted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in several important places. The Atmarama verse is the verse that Sri Chaitanya spoke on when he blew the mind of the most powerful non-dualist philosopher, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, right? Sarvabhauma was just like intellectual giant, right? Like famous throughout India, just for the strength of his philosophical acumen and in the depth of his understanding of non-dualism. Sri Chaitanya spoke on this verse, the Atmarama verse, which expresses that even those who are Atmarama, meaning even those who, they're not taking Atma, the soul, Rama, their pleasures derived from within, they have no interest in anything external. That even the Atmaramas, they relish hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam because it is not something external. It is not something mundane. It is something that is the deepest spiritual content. And so here, that message was given early in the Bhagavatam, and we're going to see it reinforced. Vyasadeva is going to reinforce. He's not just going to put it out there early and then say, take that or leave it. He's going to reinforce that message again and again, and he's doing it here, saying that the devas, the people on the higher planets, which a lot of people that are reading the Vedic literature, they're thinking they're at the top, they're the best. That's where I wish I was. He's showing us that they're looking down at the earth and saying that's a better place, because not only is the nature of the mixed suffering and enjoyment, suitable for one saying I need to get out of here and being focused on it, but there you can also hear the pastimes of Sri Krishna. Krishna actually comes himself and manifests the pastimes there. And what's the point in being up on this higher planetary system if I'm not going to hear that? Because that's the deepest spiritual connection is made through this hearing. So therefore, an intelligent person doesn't take interest in a place, even if it's in the topmost planetary system, even if it's some beautiful beach in South Africa or whatever. If the pure topics concerning the Lord's activities, those leelas, if that doesn't flow there, and then he goes on, and if there are not devotees engaged in service there, and if there's no festivals of Sankirtan there, right? If there's no joyous application of it all, then they're not interested in going to that place. These are from the upper people on the planet, the most successful materialists. They've come to this realization.
Okay. Yeah. Alrighty. We talked about this yesterday in class. We were really highlighting chapter 15 yesterday in our teacher training because of the Purushottam. It's the special month, the auspicious month.
Why are you doing that? What about that?
I'm just saying because that had sort of had a lot to do with cutting the banyan tree of material existence.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's just another way, like that idea that, hey, in this month it comes up once every 3 years. We read this chapter every day. It's a way to regulate one's life so that they are in that flow of that river of Krishna's words and words of Krishna, words about Krishna.
Okay, so this is text 25. Bharatvarsh offers the proper land and circumstances in which to execute bhakti, devotional service, which can free one from the result of jnana and karma.
Yeah. Now, a lot of the Vedic literature think, I want the results of karma and jnana. I want to go to the results of karma. I go to the heavenly planets and enjoy the results of jnana, or I let go of my material suffering for some time, at least, for a very long time. Here he's saying, no, there's something higher than that. You want to become free of the results of that.
If one obtains a human body in the land of Bharatvarsh with clear sensory organs with which to execute the Sankirtan yagya, but in spite of this opportunity, he does not take to devotional service, he is certainly like liberated forest animals and birds that are careless and are therefore again bound by a hunter.
Yeah, it seems like hunters in India, they captured animals a lot. Like here, they just kill them straight out. They had some kind of little traps and things like that.
Unless they have like a bird cage.
Yeah, I don't know. But so you have this opportunity. You can run free, and you're careless, and you just wander right into a trap. In the commentary to this verse, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, again, one of the important commentators on Bhagavatam, this is what he wrote. I thought this was an interesting analogy. Those who attain this bharata, those who have this earthly opportunity and do not utilize it properly, this is a warning to all of us, right? Are most lamentable, right? You had the best opportunity and didn't even take it. They're most lamentable, like a farmer who, on attaining a Chintamani stone, continues to farm. So a Chintamani stone means it's a stone that can fulfill any desire, right? If you're farming around and you're digging up, you're doing your plowing, and you find this Chintamani stone, it means you don't have to work hard at farming anymore. Whatever you want, it's just that stone can give you. you've missed the point, right? If you're like, and if you put that stone aside, and go back to your grueling work, you just missed out on such a great opportunity. Right. And so it's a verse that's calling on us, hey, don't be a fool. Recognize what you've got. Don't be lazy, right? Don't get distracted. Stay focused. Make the best use of this opportunity as a human being on the earth. As we were saying yesterday, the earth is a portal. It's an opportunity to get out. It's an opportunity to become entirely free. Don't pass it up.
Text 25.
Text 26.
Text 26. In India, Bhartvarsh, there are many worshippers of the demigods, the various officials appointed by the Supreme Lord, such as Indra, Chandra, Surya, all of whom are worshipped differently.
Okay.
The worshippers offer the demigods their oblations, considering the demigods part and parcel of the whole Supreme Lord. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead accepts these offerings and gradually raises the worshippers to the real standard of devotional service by fulfilling their desires and aspirations. Because the Lord is complete, he offers the worshippers the benedictions they desire, even if they worship only part of his transcendental body.
Yeah, we're going to hear more about this, but here's some interesting ideas here. It says, though complete in himself, he is the Ashisham Prabhu. He's the master of all benedictions, the master of all blessings, right? So he doesn't, it's saying that wise people recognize that these devas, these planetary heads, and the sun, the moon, the head, that person in charge of the rain, and so on, they're all kind of what was the term used here? Demigods, considering the demigods part and parcel of the whole, the Supreme Lord. They're the representatives. They're the representatives. Just like a governmental representative is part of the government, or let's say an ambassador.
Nice one. Ambassador.
An ambassador is like, when you're talking to the ambassador, you're talking to the president, right? If the president sends an ambassador to another country, when you're dealing with that ambassador, you realize this is kind of, in a sense, part of the president, right? How his presence manifests here. And so it's saying people can worship the devas, recognizing that they're ultimately all part of Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu is that being that's complete in himself. He doesn't need the offerings, but he's seeing someone becoming a little grateful, a little bit more selfless, and he wants to reciprocate with that. He'll grant those blessings. He'll give people what they want through the devas, but there's more to it, and how he deals with them, and that comes in text 27.
The ambassador. The Supreme Personality of Godhead fulfills the material desires of a devotee who approaches him with such motives, but he does not bestow benedictions upon the devotee that will cause him to demand more benedictions again. However, the Lord willingly gives the devotee shelter at his own lotus feet, even though such a person does not aspire for it, and that shelter satisfies all his desires. Okay. That is the Supreme Personality's special mercy.
Yeah. So here it's saying that if while you're wanting material things, right, like we come to bhakti early on, and we call this sakama devotion, right? Sakama bhakti that's being done, but I still want the things of this world from God. And so it's saying when he sees that there's some sincerity there, even though it's blended with this other stuff, he'll grant those benedictions, but he'll do it in such a way where you don't keep coming back for more. Right. He's taking specific personal interest right now in the life of the devotee. And maybe we could read a little bit of this commentary.
Yeah, here's the commentary. All right, 27 commentary. The devotees mentioned in the previous verse approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead with material motives, but this verse explains how such devotees are saved from those desires. This is the famous verse, Akama Sarvakamava, Mokshakama Udaradi, Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Yajeta Purusham Param. Whether one is freed from all material desires, is full of desires, or desires to become one with the Supreme, they should just engage in bhakti, in devotional service. In this way, not only will the devotee's desires be fulfilled, but the day will come when he will have no other desire than to serve the lotus feet of the Lord.
Okay.
One who
So
engages
becomes part of a
in-
path towards pure devotion, even though it's not pure in the beginning.
One who engages in the service of the Lord with some motive is called sakama bhakta. And one who serves the Lord without any motives is called akama, right? No kama.
Yeah. Pure. That's
Bhakta.
pure love. The only
Right.
motive is love. I don't want anything of this world.
Krishna is so merciful that he turns a sakama bhakta into an akama bhakta, right? You get this realization like, okay, I'm going to worship God for this. Anything but pure devotion. I do want a comfortable life. I do want some material wealth. I do want a good family. But then all of a sudden you start to realize the futility of material relationships, of a material situation, of material fortune, and even the precariousness of love in the material world, and how everything can actually be lost. So this is why we say, you just do your duty. Someone was asking the question, well, okay, I get renunciation. That makes sense. And I get indulgence. That makes sense. How do you do this path where you're not a monk? You're not an isolated hermit. We're householders with kids, and you go out to dinner, you have a family. How do you do that in bhakti? Well, you keep hearing wisdom literature on a regular basis. That's why we started this podcast in the first place, so you can hear it on a regular basis. And you have a few parameters that you put in place, and you go forward with your duties in this world as a parent, as a householder, in the workplace, in your own personal spiritual practice, your personal sadhana, which we talk a lot about. And then all of a sudden, the material world starts to unfold, both good and bad. And as you apply wisdom to it, it becomes less of a dualistic experience where you're thinking, this sucks, this is great, this is horrible, this is wonderful. And we start to see Krishna's hand, even in the abrasive things that are getting dealt to us. We start to see, you know what? Okay, this is putting me on a path of evolution. Okay, I'm supposed to evolve past it. I'm supposed to tolerate this. This is good. This doesn't seem good, but I know deep down this is good for me. This is not what I wanted, but this is what I needed. And this is the beauty of bhakti. It's the same things happening, but now we're starting to refine ourselves by just adding the wisdom literature on a regular basis, and it's becoming a GPS for us in a previously very, very confused path.
Okay. Thank you, Raghunath. Well, why don't you just read the last few verses? We could wrap up the chapter right now.
Last few verses. Got you. Miss Mara. Help me, Miss Mara.
28.
Text 28. So they're speaking, the positive, pious aliens are speaking from the heavenly planets. We are now living in the heavenly planets, undoubtedly as a result of our having performed ritualistic ceremonies, pious activities, and yagyas, and having studied the Vedas. However, our lives here will one day be finished. We pray that at that time, if any merit remains
I'm sorry. Go ahead. My bad.
It's okay. If any merit remains from our pious activities, we may again take birth in Bharat as human beings, able to remember the lotus feet of the Lord. The Lord is so kind that he personally comes to the land of Bharat and expands the good fortune of its people.
Right, Krishna comes in so many ways.
So many ways. Anywhere you go to any village in India, you can go to a temple of Hanuman.
But I'm saying even he comes as Krishna in Vrindavan, he comes as Ram, he comes, in so many ways. He does it on earth.
Text 29 and 30. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, right? So here's the narrator speaking. My dear king, in the opinion of some learned scholars, 8 smaller islands surround Jambudweep. When the sons of Maharaj Sagara were searching all over the world for their lost horse, that's a whole nother story. They dug up the earth, and in this way, 8 adjoining islands came into existence. The names of these islands are Svarnaprastha, Tundra Sukla, Avartana, Ramanaka, Mandara Harina, and Panchajanya, Singhala, and Lanka. Text 31, my dear King Prickett, O best of the descendants of Bart, I have thus described to you, as I myself have been instructed, the island of Bart Varsh and its adjoining islands. These are the islands that constitute Jambu Dweep.
Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta Purports to the 5th Canto, 19th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled A Description of the Island of Jambudvipa.
We did it. We made it, and it's 7 o'clock. We did it. We checked in with the Bhagavatam, our daily check-in with the Bhagavatam. We're going to encourage everybody to read chapter 15 every day this month of the Bhagavad Gita. Just the English is fine. If you want to do more, you can, but that's what our little vow is. Mary, you have some takeaways, some little nuggets of wisdom we can put in our pocket, take with us some little goodie nuggets.
Yep, I got goodies. A strong bhakti community will sweep you up.
Yeah, like a transcendental riptide. I'm looking at Ramit and Carla. They're here live today. They've been swept up.
I think you're gonna like this one. Normalize Vedic wisdom. T-shirt.
Normalize it.
Yeah, because we're talking about, Chief came into normal setting. And
Okay. All right. I got you.
There you go.
Human life is a great and rare opportunity.
It really is. It really is. And it's so sad when we don't take it seriously. When I don't take it seriously, Hare Krishna.
Big deal. It's all temporary.
Big deal. Big deal. Next time you see something fantastic in the material world, go, okay, but big deal.
We find joy and upliftment in community.
You know what else you can do? Next time some disaster happens, just go, you know what? Disaster, big deal. It's going to be over in a moment. And a year from now, I won't even remember this. Big deal. Bankruptcy, broken heart, big deal. It's a season. It's going to change.
Even aliens want to hear Bhagavatam from Sukadev Goswami.
Aliens landed. Big deal.
Make the best use of this earth portal.
It is a big deal. The earth portal is a big deal.
Krishna will purify our desires.
That's a big deal.
Add wisdom
Gotta admit.
literature on a regular basis.
Big deal. That's a good deal. That's a great deal.
By constant hearing, we can hear Krishna's hand in everything. We can see Krishna's hand in everything.
Hear Krishna's hands like, whoa.
And there's good aliens and evil aliens.
Yeah, there are. They're not
good.
just evil.
They're all
There's good
good.
aliens too.
They're all good underneath, Raghunath. They're all good.
Everybody, I don't know if all the evil
Well, they
aliens are
are.
good. I'm not sure.
Of course they are.
What if there's some eternally evil aliens? Nah, it's temporary.
A lot of the demons get liberated by Krishna.
Yeah, a lot of demons. You know what? Yeah, they're just going through their thing. They're doing time. They're in prison. You know how in prison they make you join a gang? Even if you don't want to, you're like, okay, you're white, you're in the white gang. You're Hispanic, you're in the Hispanic gang. You know, it's just what they do. That's what prison life is. Next thing you know, you're shanking somebody. Can't